All right, our last video, guys, was a little long. So this video, we're going to keep it short and we're going to get right into it. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a codepen for a star rating, and then we're going to basically turn that into a stencil component, and then deploy that to NPM so that we can actually use it inside of other projects. So to start out, I have this codepen open by Chris Smith, and I will put the link for the codepen in the description. So feel free to hit this guy up. He's got some really great work on his codepen. He's got lots of Star Wars and other nerd-related things. Super cool. So check Chris Smith out. Pretty awesome guy. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this codepen here, where we have a ratings, kind of little rating, 5-star rating component, except it's not a component right now. It's just a lump of HTML and CSS. And basically, we're going to turn this into a component we can use. And so I've got open here Enjin Components. It's a NPM package that we have made to just kind of put some generic components that we kind of need across a lot of our different projects. And so we've scaled this up, and this is where I'm going to store the code. So feel free to pull this down if you don't want to make it yourself. You could always just install this project on your or this this library onto your project and use this for yourself. But again, this is going to be a pretty quick video. So all we're going to do is let's start by making a new component. So I'm going to go to my components here, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to copy one of our old components. And in this project, I'm not using Sass, just because as of recently, I've realized that our SCSS files are so small if you make proper components that you don't really need Sass. And if you can cut out that compiling, then you make your build a little faster, and you don't have to, your hot reloading gets a little easier. So cool. So I just copied one of my components here and named it star rating, the folder star rating. I'm going to name the SCS or the CSS file here. I'm going to name this star rating. So just start that. And then I need to rename both of these files, star rating, and rename star rating. And each one of my components here, I prefix with Enjin. So that's what I'm going to do here as well. So I'm going to name this Enjin star rating, star rating, star rating. So now I've got my component all set up. I'm going to get rid of everything inside of my render here. So the very first thing we want to do is let's just copy over the HTML that we need. So over here on the left, you can see the codepen, and I just need this lump of HTML. So I will just copy that guy out, make a return statement here, and I will return back this lump of code. So the first thing you're going to notice is that we get these red squigglies, and if we hover over them, we can see that it tells us that the for string class string is not assignable to type label HTML attributes. So if we click into this guy, we can get a little bit more information. We can see label attributes here, and we can click down to this, and you can see that the interface only expects 3 different things, either a for, well, 3 different things on top of the HTML attributes that it's extending. And we got a form, HTML4, and HTML4. And so what this is that since we use for, like this is the standard HTML way of doing it, like we have a label and then we correspond that label with, we have a for attribute that corresponds to the ID of an input, and that kind of ties those 2 things together so that the browser knows that they're related. Well, in this case, for is like a reserved word for a loop. So in JSX, we actually need to change this to HTML4. And once we do that, you can see our compiler error goes away here. So I'm going to do that for all of these. I'm going to go ahead and select one of them. Actually, I'm going to select one of them, and then I can click Control plus D, to select the next instances of that. And now I can change them all at once. So there we go. So, so there's our HTML. So now we've got the HTML that we need to make our star rating plugin. And if I open it up and check it out here in the browser, I need to actually wire it up here to my gallery. So this is what actually shows on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick. And I've got a little component in here. Another component in this npm library is something called Enjin Organism. And this Enjin Organism lets us put together star rating, description, a simple cool. And we don't need any props. We'll just leave that empty. And what we want to put in here is an engine test component. We want engine star rating. So now I should be able to see this component get rendered onto our page over here. Cool. So it says a simple 5-star rating component. And you can see we don't really see anything right now. That's because we don't have any of our styles. So let's jump back over to the codepen, not this tab. Jump over to the codepen and let's grab all the styles that we need right here, except for this explanation part, because that's all for this article explanation that he made right here. So let's go ahead and copy that, open up our CSS page, and let's just paste this right over here. And if we wanted to, just to make sure that we don't end up targeting other styles on the page, we can kind of scope in our styles a little bit. I think I have prettier going, so that should clean that up. We'll see. Nope. Okay, so now we've copied over our styles. There we go. Now we should have kind of like a scoped in set of styles here that are going to target just our star rating component. And we should be able to see it here in the browser. All right, we're getting closer. So now we've got our star rating. And actually it looks like, yep, no, it's going good. Okay, so let's save our star rating again. And I'm wondering if maybe try temporarily. There we go. Okay. So I forgot, it automatically is going to scope those things in. Yeah, so we're good. So cool. So now we've got our styles copied over. So we just copied over the styles from our codepen into our CSS file. And now you can see we've got our star rating component, and it works exactly as it does on the codepen. So, so this is a really good technique. Just a lot of times you can find stuff that's already pretty well fleshed out on codepen. There's tons of stuff that's made specifically just with HTML and CSS. You can go in there, kind of copy and paste it, and then kind of tweak it to your liking. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of the border around this guy and just leave us with the star components here. And so now you can see there's our kind of thing. So now what we want to do is let's go ahead and create an event that's going to emit whenever we click on one of these stars so that we can pick up on that event somewhere else. And so to do that, what we want to do is, set up an event. So to put an event in here, we just need to import two things. We need event and event emitter. And then at the top here, we just need to do an event, and then we need to tell it what the event name is going to be. So in this case, we're just going to do engine star rating. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say that it is going to be an event emitter. Okay, so now when this happens, so when one of these radio buttons gets clicked, we need to kind of basically emit an event when this thing gets clicked on. So we could do it a couple ways. We could do it when they click on one of these guys. We could do it, on input. But in this case, I think an even easier way to do it is let's just set up a listen. And what we'll do is we'll listen for input. So we'll say listen. So I imported listen up here at the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to listen on input. So this is almost the exact same thing as doing like document on input, except it's going to be scoped to our current component. So now we can say on input. And when we get an input, we want to this.enjin_starRating.emit, and then we want to emit the event. So let's go ahead and pass through the actual event from the input. I usually like to do that. And then we'll pass through the value, so the star rating value, and that's going to be stored under event.target.value. So cool. So now we've got an event emitter, and this thing's going to emit an event whenever we click on one of these stars. So to test this out, I'm going to go into my gallery here. I'm going to put a listener in here. And I'm going to listen for that event. So let's do @listen. And we're going to listen for Enjin star rating on star rating. And let's just take the event that we're passing and let's just console log the event. So if everything went well, we should be able to inspect over here. And as soon as it finishes compiling, we should be able to click on this. And then in our console, we should be able to see the event. Oops, it says emit of undefined. Event, Enjin star rating. Let's try to just save this again. Maybe it's just behind. Ah, there it is. So now every time we click on a star rating, you can see it tells us our engine detail, or sorry, event detail, and you can see value 2. And then now if I blow out this custom event, you can see under the detail, value 3. So now we've got an event that is emitting. All right, so we could just call it quits there. We have a star rating component. It emits an event that we can pick up on, and we can kind of just put this into any project that we're working on. However, let's take it one step further. Let's add some CSS variables in order to customize things like the color, the size, and things like that. And that will just make it easier for us to tweak this thing so that we're not having to write styles that target this thing. Yeah, so to do that, let's go ahead and jump into our CSS file here. And what we'll do is we will basically make some CSS variables right at the very top of our component. So let's go right here and we'll do Enjin star rating. And then what we'll do is we'll create some CSS variables. So let's just start by taking the color of the star rating label. So let's do star rating default. And then what we can do is down here where we cut that color out, we can say var star rating default. Give it a second. So now if we inspect this guy, we should be able to see that there it is. So var star rating default is the default color. So this color is coming from that. So now if we change this variable up here to red, now it's going to change it red. And what's really neat about this is because we've set it this way, over here in my gallery page, I can in here target Enjin star rating, and in here I can basically just target that CSS variable star rating default, and I can change it to whatever color I want. Now I don't have to make some complicated CSS selector. I can just pass in this variable here, and that will go about setting that to wherever we've set it up in our CSS file here. So I'm going to make a couple more of these guys. So let's go ahead and take out the checked color. So we're going to say -- star rating -active, and then we need -- star rating hover var star rating active and var star rating hover. Cool, so now all of our colors are programmed with, take out this rule here. So now all of our colors now are coming from CSS variables. So now when we use this inside of another project, we are going to be able to change all of our colors via CSS variables. So the last thing, let's make it so that we can size these guys with a CSS variable. So let's do -- star rating size. And what we're going to do is the size from these guys is actually coming from a font size here. So let's go ahead and say 25 or 30 pixels. And font size right here, we just change that out for the CSS variable. -- star rating size. So now you can see they're 30 pixels. And if I change it to 50 pixels, boom, they're 50 pixels, etc., etc. So there you have it. There's a simple star rating plugin, and I will go ahead and commit this up and put it on GitHub, and I'll put the link for the GitHub repo as well as the NPM package down in la description. And what we're going to do, I'm going to commit this, add star rating component. And if you haven't seen it, we have a video on how to turn your Stencil component, your Stencil project, into an NPM package and how to get that all published. So I will put the link again in the description. So feel free to check that out if you'd like to set this up for yourself. But here I go. I'm going to npm version patch to patch and make a new version 0.0.5, and then I'm going to npm publish, and that's going to go about running a build and then packaging everything up and deploying it to NPM. So there we have it, guys, a simple star rating component. Where is my screen? Ah, there we are. So there we have it, guys, a simple star rating component pushed up to NPM so that we can use it in all of our projects. Again, well, the link's in the description if you guys want to see more. And next week we will be covering state management with Stencil. So make sure you tune in next Saturday for that video, recommended by one of our viewers. Dang. And if you guys have anything that you think we could do better on these videos, or maybe you caught a mistake that we made, or you have a suggestion for something that you'd like to see on one of these future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will feature you in our videos. We will give you the due credit you deserve for contributing to the community here with Madness Labs. So thanks again for watching, guys. If this was helpful, subscribe. Peace.